matter of time. Masochist, I tend to pretend to befriend you when no one else is watching. If only you could see through these mirrors that surround you. My fertile garden of lies, growing to placate you, sprouting
Hello everybody, I am Hoarder Gamer, and this is Hoarder's Comic Flex. I hope you're all doing well. This is the first episode of 2024, so I will try to make it an adequate one. We have comic book reviews, we have some video game news, we're going to have some toys, going to toy around a bit later, and then we're going to look at the very near future of comic books. First up, we have a heavy hitter. So usually I'll have like a heavy hitter as the final review, but we got two of those this week. We got two. Doom, I appreciate it. Feel free to lurk till your heart's content. And Crinky, it's good to see you. I'm doing quite well. I hope everyone's doing well right now. We have Fall of the House of X. Also, next week is Fall of the Powers of X. 12 issues total, 6 each in each series. That will be the end of Krakoa. And basically a new beginning, new start, ending for the X-Men themselves. So, Cyclops is about to go on trial. And Dr. Alia Gregor and Orcus are basically behind this, and it's pretty much, you know, a very one-sided trial. Almost a guarantee that Cyclops is going to be found guilty. So Wolverine and Colossus, and as a fun surprise, Kurt Wagner, also known as Nightcrawler, are there to get him out of the jail cell / area where the court is and everything like that. So they plan they're going to use Rasputin 4, which is like a female version of Colossus, I believe. I don't know all the details between Rasputin 4, but she's going to be able to actually do something so they can actually teleport Cyclops down below the building and get him out of there. But Professor Xavier mentally calls to her at that exact moment, and she needs to go and help him because he says he can save all of mutant and humankind. Okay? So we have that going on. Then we have, I'm trying to remember his name. I apologize. Scary Robot ends up going to Krakoa and ends up facing Krakoa itself. This gigantic tree-type entity that actually gets up off the island and dives into the ocean. But before that happened, Krakoa covered this robot in amber. Nimrod, thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was great, too, because Nimrod's like, I'm going to tear you apart. I'm going to destroy you. Because this Nimrod is great. The Nimrod that they came up with for House of X, Powers of X, and further up to this point even, is like cracking jokes, is clever. It's definitely not like just a robot. It's really pretty wild. Very sinister, very cruel, you know, things like that. And he's like all bragging about what he's going to do to Krakoa. He gets covered in amber. Krakoa leaps into the ocean. Okay, so then we got Kitty Pryde, and she's going around and trying to save people. And basically, it's a pretty wild read. It starts bringing in the Brood. And most importantly, Brew himself. The X-Men are basically going to form a truce with the Brood, and the Brood might be the thing that actually saved them. I don't know how I feel about that. I know that Brew himself feels that he has a debt, but I don't know about the Brood themselves, and if they can all be trusted. But it was a very good issue. Great artwork. There's a great moment of 2 pages in here, which is supposed to be a letter released to the office of Jennifer Walters for immediate release. That part's really neat. And it goes into Cyclops talking about the entire situation and where his mind is at this point, right before the trial. It's really a good issue. And like I said, it's the end of an era, beginning of a new one. Fall of the House of X #1. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. The art is really great. It very much reminds me of a extremely strongly written X-Men book. It didn't give me the spark of Jonathan Hickman, who did House of X and Powers of X, and was kind of like the architect for Krakoa, but it's still very good, and it's exciting to see where we're going, and teaming up with the Brood could be a very, very bad thing. Next up, everybody, we've got some video game news. And because there really isn't that much video game news this week, like the big exciting thing is Star Wars Outlaws. And we found out a number of the planets it's going to take place on, including Tatooine, which is awesome. And I'm very much looking forward to this game. It's from Massive Entertainment, and Massive actually did The Division. So this Ubisoft Star Wars game is exciting to me for a number of reasons. I'm a big fan of The Force Unleashed 1 and 2. 1 more than 2. If you've played them, you'd understand why that is. And a big fan of Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Okay? But in those games, you play a Jedi. Okay? Force Unleashed, you could say Sith 2 Jedi or whatever you want to say. Fine. But here, you are a smuggler. Here you are a scoundrel. You're like a gender-bent version of like Han Solo is what the whole thing looks like when you're looking at the trailers. Looks really awesome, and I'm very much looking forward to it. We also found out that one of the mission givers is Jabba the Hutt himself. And you'll be working with other factions too. So I think Star Wars Outlaws is going to be awesome. Now, it's going to be coming out this year, we found out. Now, this is where it gets weird. They basically hinted at, or kind of like said, it's coming out late 2024. But then the articles changed and just said 2024. So people right now are speculating, is this a summer release? Is this a fall release? Is this earlier than holiday? You know, hard to say right now. Either or, I think it's going to be really awesome. Yeah, me too, Crinky. I think it's really exciting to play as, like I said, a smuggler, a scoundrel, not necessarily a Jedi, you know? I really like that idea a lot. You have like an enforcement droid that looks awesome. You have this adorable space alien that helps you out and does things with you, similar to BD-1, but now, you know, you got that. Love the criminal side of Star Wars. Yes, and I'm guessing you'll be making decisions. Like, I don't think you'll be able to truly side with the Empire or anything like that. I think it's going to be shades of gray type of thing. But the fact that you're working for Hutts, that's questionable. And like, are the gangs that were in the Star Wars sequel series, will they be in there? Like, I believe it was Conja Club, and I'm trying to remember what the other one was. There were two gangs that were after Han Solo in Force Awakens. Are those groups you can work with or work for? You know, it's very exciting. Will you do bounty hunting? Will bounty hunting be one of the things that you do? Will bounty hunters be after you? My guess is yes. I'm guessing if you're working for the Hutts, you're a smuggler / scoundrel, right? I'm sure bounty hunters are hunting you, just like they hunted Han Solo. Hopefully it runs better than Jedi Survivor. Well, everyone knows when I talk about Jedi Survivor, my issue was I felt terrible that I had to lower the difficulty on the final boss. I felt that everything in the game, difficulty-wise, on normal difficulty, was more than fair and at times very challenging, especially with bosses. The that were before the final boss, but it was like hitting my head against the wall fighting the final boss. So I just question that balance of difficulty there, but otherwise I absolutely love the game. There's a lot of like side mission and bounty hunter stuff I still need to do in Jedi Survivor, and I will get into that before the new one drops. I probably have a few years, I'm guessing. But yeah, I very much liked Jedi Survivor, and I'm extremely looking forward to seeing what the person behind The Division is going to do with a Star Wars game. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. I had an idea and it could go terribly, but I figured, you know what? That could be very exciting too. If it goes terribly, maybe that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, 1 second here, everybody. Okay, so Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. As you probably guessed, I'm going to be covering that a lot. Okay, I'll also be doing a lot of streaming starting late January over on my Twitch channel. I'll mention that later. I don't have to drop that twice. But I was looking at the subreddit for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and I saw this one message. And it's not an overly negative message. It's just a message. And I thought, hey, I could actually do something with this for the show. Okay, so willing_command 5646 today said, if they don't commit to this, they will end up exactly like Marvel Avengers. They promised the same things, but they couldn't release the content out fast enough to keep people's attention. No one wants to wait 4 months after the game launches to get one character and 8 hours of story content. I agree. I agree completely with that. I think there's a little bit of, I guess, conjecture, I would say, but I mostly agree with what Willing Command has to say. Now, based on that, I just wanted to say what Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is offering as opposed to what Marvel's Avengers offered. And kind of do a bit of a comparison. I think it's a fair thing to do that, especially when this is not an isolated message. This is not an isolated thought about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Okay? So, cross-play. That is something we wanted, and I feel we needed. Some of the devs thought they needed it for Marvel's Avengers. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to have cross-play. Meaning that you can play with your friends on PC, on Xbox, on PlayStation, no matter what you're playing on. Okay? That's a huge thing. Now, this is a massive thing for a game as a service. Okay? Especially if people get into this game hardcore. Cross-progression, cross-save. So the idea there, if I'm playing this game on PlayStation, right, and then I want to play it on Xbox, my same characters, everything else, that transfers over. That all transfers over. Similar to like what Warframe has been rolling out recently, and some other games have. Now, unfortunately, neither crossplay nor cross-progression were available in Marvel's Avengers. And I think that also hurt it a bit. I think the crossplay hurt it the most, though. Not being able to play with your friends and not being able to have like one platform that's doing better than the others, supporting the other platforms, because people are playing on it with other people that are on, I guess, platforms that aren't doing quite as well. That might sound complicated, but it does make sense if you think about it. I have faith in Suicide Squad. I don't usually feel comfortable before release. I trust Rocksteady. I do too. So, real brief tangent. They also did a game. Their first game that they did was Urban Chaos Riot Response, which I believe was like a sequel to a game that someone else at Eidos did. Some other team at Eidos did. And even that got really good reviews. And at the PlayStation 2 time period was considered one of the better like sleeper shooters that came out. Okay? So like Rocksteady to my mind, has not made what I would consider a bad game yet. They had this Urban Chaos game. They had, right after that was Arkham Asylum. And I love the fact that based on the strength of Urban Chaos, this shooter that's very, very different than anything Batman related or how Arkham Asylum even plays, they were able to pitch to WB Games, and they loved the pitch, and that game happened. That game happened, and then a Dark Knight game was basically dropped. So, yeah, I think that's pretty wild. So they did Arkham Asylum, then they did Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, and then Arkham VR. And now they have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So Arkham VR was an excellent experience. It was short, but at that time period with VR games, most of the games were short. There weren't big, massive, crazy things. Like, I've heard that Half-Life Alyx is a relatively longer game, and I know something came out that's like a fantasy-based game that's considered relatively long for a VR game. I know that came out very recently, a month or two ago. But it was really cool, and it actually at times let you feel like you were Batman. The only thing was, the entire game was like 90 minutes. Yeah, you could replay it and do certain arcade-type moments using a Batarang, but then you're looking at about 3 hours total. So, like, it wasn't like a super long video game. It was more of an experience as being the Batman, which is something that Rocksteady has stressed from Arkham Asylum all the way through Arkham Knight by letting us have control of the Batmobile. Do you have a question I've not seen or asked answered about Suicide Squad? If you pre-order on PS5, do you get the exclusive outfits? Will they be on your account when you play on your Series X? That is an excellent question. I do not have an answer to that one, and I'm sorry. If I were to guess, I would say no, because of the exclusivity. I don't. That's a great question. No one I know has asked that question yet. So, yeah, the Rogue outfits, those are exclusive on PlayStation. And they might even be digital only. Possibly. Yeah. I'm curious too. I have no idea how they'll handle that. And keep in mind, everybody, Sony is the partner, the marketing partner on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and most WB games. They were also the marketing partner on Hogwarts Legacy, and I believe Star Wars Skywalker Saga, Lego. But, like, if they bring out more DLC, right, more skins and things like that, it would be good to know if those can be used on the PC and or Xbox versions of the game. So, the more expensive version will give you 3 days early access. I believe it is the 29th, I believe, is when access is available to the game if you do the $99.99 version. That's in US dollars. Plus you get... let's see here. I believe you get 3 Notorious weapons. You get some specific colorways for the characters. You end up getting the, like, Legacy or, like, Justice League type outfit pack. Although that's not exclusive to the $100 set, I believe. The most important thing people are getting that version for, I'd say, is the 3 days early, though. To get access to the game 3 days early. Okay, so going back then to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This one's going to make a lot of people happy. A lot of people are asking this question. It's already been answered. This question was answered in like February or March of last year when they showed the video of the game and gameplay. Loadouts. Yes, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to have loadouts. Loadouts is something, unfortunately, Marvel's Avengers was never able to get. And it's something a lot of players wanted, but it never happened. There was even an actual thing that said loadouts, but if you clicked on it, it did nothing. And for a game where you're playing a whole mess of different Avengers, and maybe you also want to do like a melee-based Hulk, or you want to do a ranged Hulk, loadouts would have been really good, especially when we thought they were coming to the game. You know? But this has loadouts. In the video that came out in February, if you look at the screens that they show a number of screens of characters and things. One of the things that comes up as a border is loadouts. So that's part of this game. So you'd be a fool not to play it early. I wouldn't go that far. I think it's more than fair to just buy the regular version if you don't need it 3 days early. It is possible that I'm trying to think that there's something else. I know it's Notorious Weapons. I believe there's a weapon charm. I don't have like the picture in front of me. I had a picture of it, had all the information. I understand, Crinky. I understand. Okay, Mike is just kidding right now. Do not sell plasma. Just get it when you're able to. Do not feel pressure that you have to have it immediately if it's going to be a challenge to get immediately. That way all the reviews will be out and everything too, and you'll get like goofballs like me that'll say what they think of it. Okay, let's see here. Oh, physically being able to see new gear that you get. One of the biggest contentions for a game as a service that Marvel's Avengers faced was for hardcore players that were getting loot and could not see it on their characters. So like you would get like a new like upgrade to like armor or like, you know, abilities, melee, range, whatever it was, and it was just like a hologram looking thing that you couldn't even see on your character. You could only see on like an inventory type screen. Here, weapons and gear and stuff are visible on your characters. So that's awesome. You can actually see the insane weapons. You can see the ranged weapons and everything. There's supposed to be some level of altering the character. I don't know exactly if it's just colorways or how that's going to work. As far as I know, you can't like take piecemeal parts of outfits and stuff and mix those. I don't think it's quite that complicated. Yes, Captain Phasma figures. Yes. Captain Phasma. Sell some water on the highway exit. Again, Mike is kidding. God. Okay. I know Mike personally, everybody. So Mike is kidding. Okay. Okay. Now, another thing people wanted, vehicles. Those could offer fast travel options. It's very possible that the vehicles that Gizmo and Toyman are, you know, bringing to the game, as we saw Toyman in Cider Episode 2, could allow for fast travel options, which is great because of how big the Metropolis map is. It's a huge map. Now, this is going to upset some people, but this is very important, and it kind of needs to do this as a game. A possible way to support itself is through the wording of their like question and answer section on the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League official website. Okay, like the Q&A type thing. Okay. Earnable. The term earnable is used. So that makes it sound like you can actually purchase new squad members to play as immediately, or you can earn them like you do in a game like Warframe. Now, that's how Warframe has succeeded. They've brought in money but they've also allowed people that love the game and want to play the game to earn these things. The big difficulty with Marvel's Avengers, and most of the devs have said this, was when they decided that all the content was free. Now, the wording for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League really focuses on the idea of 4 seasons. Basically, like 1 year of content that's going to be free. Now, that sets them up for the ability to fund awesome expansions and elements of the game that Marvel's Avengers could never get. After the first year of Marvel's Avengers, and specifically after the expansion involving Wakanda, the War for Wakanda expansion, including Black Panther, the game never got anything to that level because there wasn't the money or the staffing to do it. So it's important the game has a way to fund future content. I know some people have an issue with this kind of thing, but Path of Exile has to do it, to do seasons and everything like that, and now they're able to fund a brand new Path of Exile game, which will probably be out, I'm guessing, in 2025. Destiny has been doing it for years with their big expansions, charging a fee for those expansions themselves. Now, what I think is going to happen is that game modes, right? And yeah, okay, I have it right here. All indications are that there's a 1 to 1.5 year pipeline of game modes, squad members, and story. So I believe squad members will be able to be earned and or purchased, both. But story elements like campaign, game modes, and all of that, those will be able to be, you know, just enjoyed. Because that does not separate the player base. Just because you can't have the newest, hottest squad member doesn't mean you're separating the player base. Separating the player base means you don't get the new game modes. It means you don't get the new expansion. One of the rumors is an expansion that takes us to Atlantis. Like, there were a number of people that were saying there was something involving Aquaman. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but I have heard the Aquaman rumor. And more recently, I've heard that someone who had the idea of Atlantis. Now, if you're wondering how you do that with a game with characters that don't swim, think BioShock. Think beautiful looking, right? But like giant like tubes to protect you from the water. Maybe you take like Black Manta's sub that you steal, because again, you're the Suicide Squad, and use that to get to Atlantis. Just an idea as to how they could do Atlantis without having to integrate complicated swimming for every squad member. Be happy to support them through passes or skins. Yes, and I'm sure they'll have that too. You might be able to earn some of those things as well. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Also, another feature that people really wanted and didn't come immediately for Marvel's Avengers was playing as the same squad members in a group. They've already let us know that you can have four Shark. You can have 4 of Nanaue. You can have 4 of Harley. You can have 4 of Boomer. You could have 4 of Deadshot. Or you could have, like, you know, any number of those members in your party. You don't just have to have one of them. If everyone loves Nanaue, they can all play Nanaue. And one person can have, like, the wrestling outfit, one person can have the base outfit, and everything like that, you know? So that type of thing came to Marvel's Avengers, I want to say like in March. So the game came out in September of 2020, and I believe it was March or so when they had the ability that you could play as the same members. I don't think it was December, because December is when Kate Bishop came out, and I don't think they had it then. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, it feels like something you'd expect in the game right away, right? But yeah, so that's just, you know, in answer to that and other questions people have about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and how Avengers is going to, you know, live as long, if not longer. Everyone's, you know, has the idea that Marvel's Avengers was a failure. It got almost to 3 years. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. The first year and a half was quite a bit of decent content. After that, when they had like very little staff and they had very little money to put into it, not so much. I would love Reverse Flash, but that would be such a complicated character to bring into the game. There's so many awesome characters I thought of that would be really cool. Like, I mean, Black Manta would be awesome to play as. You know? I believe that Superboy, like the clone one, yes. I don't know much about that, though. A lot of members of the Legion of Doom at one time or another were members. So that opens up a lot of villains. And hell, you can have members of the Suicide Squad that are just villains. You don't have to worry about things like, oh, it was in the comic book. Yeah, definitely do some of the characters that are in the comic book. But if you're going to take a super popular villain that was not a member of the Suicide Squad and put them in, that's not going to upset a lot of people. Not a lot of people aren't going to be like, oh man, they weren't really in the Suicide Squad. Don't give us that awesome villain. I really hope we get some Superman villains though too, like Livewire or Parasite. Parasite would be very interesting. Very interesting. Like, I feel that Parasite would have the ability to drain the shields of enemies just by being near them. And or weakening them and affecting their accuracy. There's all these cool things you can do. Gorilla Grodd would be amazing, but see, there were also rumors about Killer Croc, and I'm just trying to figure out how big are these characters going to be that you're moving around that city. Because I would think that Gorilla Grodd is larger than Nanaue. King Shark, I think he'd be larger than that. I don't know. But no, that'd be awesome. Or going to a Gorilla City as an expansion. Another thing to think about, they mentioned in Insider 2, they're going to tell us about the places we're going. Okay? That sets the concept up that it's not all just in Metropolis. Okay? That sets that idea forward. So are people going to be upset if we get a much smaller area of Gotham, but they're able to do that as an expansion? Like, what I'm saying is this, okay? Metropolis is twice the size of Gotham and Arkham Knight. So expecting something as big as Gotham was in Arkham Knight to be back for an expansion is a little on the crazy side. Something that's a fourth to a sixth of the size would still be quite big for like a playground to run around, fight enemies in, and have buildings you can access, things like that. Would people, do you think, be okay with that? Like, I'm just wondering, you know? Punchline would be awesome. I don't know, though. I don't know. I was also thinking Clown Hunter is an option. He's someone that absolutely hates the Joker. And he's a vigilante. So that's a possibility. That's a James Tynion character. It's more recent. He showed up during the whole Punchline story arc, right around that time period. Yeah, see, I think that's what they should do. Because, like, expecting them to take the time, effort, money necessary in order to do a full-size Gotham, I think would be crazy. Like, I think people would be cool, like, even if, like, if you did Gorilla City, if you just had a map that was maybe, like, a tenth the size of Metropolis, you know? Like, just the idea of going to Gorilla City Because here's the thing with Brainiac, and one of the more recent trailers actually has him say it. He mentions the planet or he mentions Earth. He doesn't just mention Metropolis. So, if that's the case, the idea of something going on with Atlantis makes complete sense. The idea of something in Gorilla City, Central City, like, you could go just crazy with it. You know, I mean, there's so many neat options here. Justice League base, I believe it's called the Watchtower in outer space. That's possible. If they did fast travel, they could use boom tubes. That's something involving, like, I believe Darkseid and the New Gods and all that. It's possible we've seen that, because we've seen characters teleport without, like, the giant tentacles, you know, having things showing up, like giant cannons or anything. It's possible we've actually seen in one of the trailers a boom tube being used by one of the JLA members. Possibly, yeah. Like, have, like, cornfields and, like, the high school or something in Smallville. The Kent farm. There's a lot of things you can do if you decide to have it on a smaller based map. If you're deciding massive, gigantic, huge expansions, you could do maybe one or two. But if they're like, here's 2 or 3 maps in Gorilla City, that'd be awesome, you know? Are we going to go off-world? Who knows? Crossover characters like Danny Phantom, Ben 10, or Kim Possible. No. Some of those are owned by Disney. I'll start with the fact that Kim Possible is owned by Disney. So, probably not. Probably not. Okay, everybody. I think we are pretty much done talking about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Until next week, if we're really lucky, maybe we'll get Insider Episode 3 next week. It seems to be, we got one 2 weeks ago. Game comes out again, like, what is it, the 29th, I believe, for early access. So they've got a number of episodes to do, and we should be pretty excited because Arkham Insider, what they did for Arkham Knight, had 11 episodes. 6 that aired before the game launched in June of 2015. So, just to have an idea of how they're going to go about that. Okay, everybody, it is time for us to toy around, and we actually don't have a lot of toys this week. We just don't. But we have some cool things, so I will show them. First up, we have the X-Jet. Not just the X-Jet. It comes with Rogue, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Magneto. Notice the outfit on Magneto? That's right, this is X-Men 97. So this is the look of the characters and the X-Jet. You'll have an X-Men 97 based off the X-Men 90s cartoon. And I believe X-Men 97 now comes out this year. I believe it's 2024. So I think this is a really cool set. Retails at $84.99. The Jet's rather large. It's a lot of pieces. And then you get 4 figures with it. So I think it's really cool. I like it. I like Magneto a lot. I'll be honest, though. I don't absolutely love the new design of Magneto. But I did get the X-Men 97 figure from last year that launched, which is the old school look of Magneto. I did get that. And next up we have, again, Marvel. Just sort of Marvel this week. There wasn't a lot of exciting toys this week. Maybe next week, I don't know. Also, pretty soon, just to jump to it super quickly, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will probably have McFarlane figures. If I were to guess, because Gotham Knights did, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will as well. That's just a guess. Okay? Next up we have Angel. I believe one of the original members of the X-Men. I will be honest, I'm not one of the biggest fans of Angel or Archangel, but I really think that fans of the character will love this figure. Okay, look at the giant wings. That's basically like another figure in itself, and you get a second profile of him. I think it's a really good take on Angel. Really? Yeah, so his pre-order should be going live tomorrow. I don't have an exact price. I'm going to guess 40. That price is being based on what they charged for Doc Ock. The Alfred Molina Doc Octopus that they put out, the movie version, he was $39.99. So when they did Green Goblin, the Willem Dafoe version, that came with a number of accessories, including the big, glider. That was $50. But if I were to guess, this will probably be $39.99. 6-inch figure. The thing is, again, those wings. Those are huge wings. That's why it's going to be more expensive than like a $25 figure. Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen. Yeah, this is the only one I saw. Okay, I don't believe you, Mike. I don't believe you. Okay, everybody. So I apologize for toying around. That's really all we have. Like, there weren't a lot of awesome things to be like, oh, look at this. New Ghostbuster figures. Those were shown Those were shown before, though. They're going to be $9.99, and they're based on Phoebe, Trevor, and Callie. And Callie being Egon Spengler's daughter. There's also a Mr. Gruberson, but that's not available yet for some reason. And these are $9.99. They're based at the young kid level. These aren't like the really well done, laser generated sculpts that look like the actors. What they called the plasma series for the other figures that came out. This isn't those. This is more like a toy-based or kid-based ones. They do have kind of a neat thing where they come with like ghosts that stretch over them. It's almost like they figured out a way to have like a plasticky, rubbery mold action figure that can kind of act like slime. So that's kind of cool. And then $10 price point's really great too. It's so great that they sold out of Trevor and Phoebe on Amazon already. So, okay. Next up, everybody, we are going to look into the crystal ball of the future. The future of comic books all the way to 1 week from today. And first up, we have Ultimate Spider-Man by one of the best comic book writers, Jonathan Hickman. Again, the architect of Krakoa, House of X, Powers of X. He did an amazing Avengers story arc. This could be phenomenal. Ultimate Spider-Man, a new take. And yeah, I'll probably be reviewing this next week. There's a very strong chance I will review issue 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man next week. And I'm just very excited because Jonathan Hickman is really, really good. He very rarely, doesn't knock it out of the ballpark. He usually has some really complicated, wild story arc that makes sense at the end and all the pieces come together really well. So I'm looking forward to that in the Spider-Man world. there's a very good chance I will. Like, I mean, I know I'll be picking up a copy. Like, unless unless there's some issue, no pun intended, and the book does not arrive at my shop, and it's like too late for me to easily get to another shop. That's the only way I would probably not be reviewing this specific comic. Or if a comet hit me, like a comet comes out of the sky and hits me, then I probably would not review Ultimate Spider-Man #1 next week. I probably wouldn't review anything next week then. I'd be dead. Okay, so Ultimate Spider-Man, it goes bye-bye. Next up we have, this one's really wild, everybody. Lifehouse. Okay. Released by Image Comics. It's going to be $49.99. It's packaged like a double vinyl record because Lifehouse is a science fiction story arc written by The Who. The band, The Who. Who's Next was originally going to be the soundtrack to, or the songs on it were supposed to be the soundtrack at one point to this project Lifehouse. So Baba O'Reilly, Behind Blue Eyes, those songs were part of that. And this is going to be this crazy hardcover, again, size like this, like a record, and like probably insane packaging. I'm looking forward to seeing what it actually looks like. I don't know if I'm going to grab it. It's, again, $50, but it sounded awesome. And as a big fan of music, here's like the breakdown that they have for it, the solicit. An original graphic novel based on rock music from legend Pete Townshend's 1970 screenplay of the same name, which inspired The Who's 1971 globally best-selling album, Who's Next? Set in a dystopian future where music has been outlawed, Lifehouse follows a small band of rebels who stage an underground concert in an effort to undermine a tyrannical leader and free Britain and the rest of the world. So if you like Tommy, if you're a fan of that, the movie and the album and everything, Lifehouse might be something really cool. The concept that this actually exists is really neat. And it's also written by one of the Doom Patrol writers. Zero shops around me. The one I went to closed. It was 30 to 45 minutes away. I'm sorry. That is awful. I have one truly excellent shop that is about 15 minutes from me, maybe 20, depending on traffic. And then I have a good shop. It's just they don't have like a lot of bells and whistles. That's about 10 minutes from me, 5 to 10 minutes. The one Mike goes to is about 25 to 30 minutes from me. It does sound really awesome, doesn't it? I'm definitely going to take a look at it. And then there's a version with a what's called a vegan leather slipcase, which is $75. I'm guessing it's just rubber or plastic, because what the hell is vegan leather? The Good Shop. Wow, now you're calling my shop Lost World of Wonders the bad shop? Shout out to Lost World of Wonders, my current comic book shop. Also shout out to Collector's Edge and Vortex Comics. Why not? Let's share the love. Let's share the love. Like, Collector's Edge was my shop for damn near 20 years. I still like them very much. It's just there's so often that they just didn't have books like on, you know, the day they came out. They aren't able to order in huge numbers like the shop I go to now. Wrong turn type of town. Okay. I can't remember if I've seen that. I can't remember. I know it's on like Showtime all the time. Okay, but there's a Lifehouse. And now finally, this is complicated as hell. Swan Songs is a story about endings and the endings of endings. It's from the writers and creators of Ice Cream Man, which is one of the best horror anthologies I've ever read. And the reason I'm showing this right now, not only because that concept's insane, that cover is insane, but this is issue 6 of 6. And it's done in a poem format. Like, it just sounds wild. But the most important thing is this is issue 6 of 6. They'll be doing a trade for this very, very soon. Very soon. It's Image Comics. I would not be surprised if the trade came out like in 2, 3, 4 months. This would be something really wild and crazy to enjoy. Again, I'm not suggesting you run out and buy all 6 issues right now. Just very soon, there are almost guaranteed, because it's Image Comics, they trade just about everything, that this will be a trade. I know that Ice Cream Man are some of their most popular trades, so I'm sure that this has like a very quick release coming. So, Swan Songs. And everybody, that was the future of comics. Now, in case you want to see more of me, I don't know why you would. Maybe a witch's curse? I'm not sure. But twitch.tv/Hoarder Gamer. Right now I'm doing a lot of Warframe. Some people would say too much. Also doing a replay of Batman Arkham Asylum currently. I have roughly about 25 to 40% to do. Hard to say exactly. And then I have to grab all those riddles. So I'll be playing that in the next few days. So, and we are not done with this show yet, everybody. We have one final review. Vengeance of the Moon Knight #1. Moon Knight was killed in issue 30 by a villain known as the Black Spectre. And Moon Knight's relationship with Khonshu was basically decimated, and Khonshu is being held prisoner in Asgard. So, Mark, not able to come back, dead. Just dead. Now, Reese the Vampire is running the Midnight Mission, and on her, visibly young shoulders, she's a vampire, so she's eternal, she's got a lot to shoulder the burden of. I think she was turned recently, though, so she is relatively young. Basically, they decided they were going to sit Shiva. And that's something that people do in the Jewish community to mourn loved ones. It's a 7-day period where you can't have the doors locked on the dwelling where the mourning is taking place. The mirrors are covered by cloth. You sit low to the floor. And you cannot, do your normal business that you would do. So there's this really cool moment, right? Where you have the other Avengers chip in, and they're, going and fighting crime and stuff on the streets of New York. Something they usually don't do. They usually don't do street-level crime. But they're doing that so Mark can be mourned by his friends and loved ones. And 8-Ball, one of the big story arcs are in the previous story arc, oh my god. The previous run of Moon Knight, also written by the same writer, there's a big kind of thing about 8-Ball becoming one of the good guys. A redemption story arc. Well, he gets the living crap kicked out of him. And his body, basically through the window of the Midnight Mission. Here's the problem. The person that does this is the new Moon Knight. We don't know who that is. And Reese is wondering somehow if it is Mark. And if he came back somehow, but he came back wrong, as she said. Which isn't good. which isn't good. There's another great scene where Reese is out. Again, she's a vampire with other members of the Midnight Mission fighting crime before they decided to sit Shiva. And when this happens, 2 demons show up and they fight the demons. But they are incredibly powerful and they're about to defeat Reese and the Midnight Mission. Hunter's Moon shows up and does a freaking exorcism because of how strong his faith is, and sends the demons back to hell. Very good book. Very good issue. There's a great scene where you find out that Ben Grimm, being Jewish, actually did everything for the Shiva. Actually set up everything, had everything put together for his friend Mark, which I thought was really awesome and really touching. And yeah, it's a really good book. It's a great first issue, a great jumping on point. And who the hell is this new Moon Knight? They also bring up the concept of let's break into Asgard and free Khonshu. So that could be setting up this insane story arc for things to come. But yeah, Moon Knight #1, a very good read and a good jumping on point. Also, like I said, written by Jed MacKay, who did the previous run of Moon Knight. Those would be issues 1 through 30 that came out, I think, starting in like 2018 or 2019. And that's a really good run. That's where Hunter's Moon is introduced. At first, he's like a villain, but he's more of an antagonist. He looks at it from a different point of view than Khonshu and Mark did. It's very neat what they did with him. It is. Moon Knight is one of the most wild books because of the 3 personalities that are Moon Knight, you know? And then you had Khonshu involved too. So, yeah, it's a wild book. It's a wild book. From what I've read, almost every run in the last, like, 10 or 15 years has been really good. But yeah, Jed MacKay's been writing it since, like, I want to say 2018, 2019. And his issue 30 came out, like, in December, I believe. But now it's Vengeance of the Moon Knight #1. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I want to thank Doomkiller HD and Doom Squad Gaming for, again, letting me borrow the channel. Thank you. If you like the show, feel free to sub to the channel. I don't harp or preach on that, you know, or if you have anyone you know that you think would enjoy this, or at least not completely hate it, you know, tell them about the show too. I'll be back next week with another episode, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.